for me, and I welcome their hatred.
What is up, everybody? This is Hater Radio. My name is Chris McLean, and I'm here with my co-host, Ian Gibson. Ian, how are you?
I'm doing really good. Ready for the grand opening of the season.
Yeah, like the appetizer was last week, and sorry, I had to kick out my pooch. I know he's just being too growly because we're too close to the entrance of our house. But yeah, the appetizer was last week. I talked about it in the recap with FSU losing and SMU playing a close one. But this is the real thing. We are into the season officially tomorrow night, actually, with some of the games we'll talk about. But this is exciting. I have been waiting for this. It's 7-8 months in between the championship game and the first week of the season. And, it's like, there's no other feeling like it. I know people love like opening day of baseball, but like there's something about this with college football because I don't know, the pageantry, the passion, just everything about college football is so much better than any other sport. It's not even close. So with that being said, let's talk about the socials before we get into the preview. So you can reach us at haterradio.com for all of our articles. I have the USF, UCLA, and USC season previews up there. Ian wrote the USF one. He's got the USF shirt on today, repping. There's going to be a Florida season preview coming out in the next day or two. I'll have an article about Billy Napier with Florida, and then I'm going to do another article about the CFP and just like an opinion piece about that. So plenty of articles to come out for you to enjoy. Again, like I said, haterradio.com for those. For all of our socials where you can find this show, which is hater_radio for X, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and Threads. And then for YouTube, it is at Hater Radio, just simply that. And then Facebook, it is Hater Radio CFB. So, like I said, follow us there, like, subscribe, comment, everything you can to get us in the algorithm to help us out. We greatly appreciate that. We have already jumped in the 10 days since our first episode this season. We've already jumped up 120 subscribers on YouTube. So I'm greatly appreciative of that. We're moving forward, and it feels great because it's like, we had over 100 by the end of the season last year, got around 200 before the start, and now we're up to like 320 almost already in the like 10 days. So hopefully we can get our goal to like 1,000 this year, and then maybe even more. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. But everything is going pretty smooth so far. With that being said, the way we do this, so we are a college football media brand, and we do 2 shows a week, just like the banner says, live every Wednesday and Sunday. I mean, it's not technically live every time, but this one's being recorded. But it's going to be every Wednesday and Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. So you can reach us there. We try to do live shows so we can interact with people, but say it's a little bit earlier. So this is recorded. But then the other thing I was going to say was I lost my train of thought. But the way we do the show is we do a preview show on Wednesday, and we do the recap show on Sunday after the games. Today is the preview show. We're previewing all the major games. Considering now that the playoff is 12 teams, there are much more teams that have a chance to get in the playoffs. So it brings us to focus on a lot more games than we usually have. Still not a ton of games this first week because usually the first 2 weeks are kind of slow because a lot of teams play bad teams. So there won't be major matchups. There are some that are interesting here that we're going to talk about. And there are others that are very good ones, like the Clemson, Georgia game, Texas A&M, Notre Dame, Miami, Florida. And with that being said, we cover 4 teams. So the teams we cover are the Florida Gators, USF Bulls, like Ian's got the jerseys, like I said, and then USC and UCLA, because I live out here in LA and I'm 30 minutes away from both campuses. Let's do it. Let's jump into it. So the week 1 preview. Ian, I got Thursday night, North Dakota State going up the media hype machine, Colorado. I want to hear your thoughts on this because I don't want to dive deep in this until hearing what you have to say before we jump into it. But go ahead.
So this is unironically, besides the teams I follow, the game I'm most looking forward to is Clemson, Georgia, the first week. This is unironically the second most intriguing game because there is going to be a lot of eyeballs clearly on Colorado. All the returning stars, how the team is going to play, and all that. What I've said about Colorado, and I know I said it last year, is that it is a very good team, but it's a team built on athletes, which you can win a lot of games like that. But you can tell the structure. I think the biggest case in point was the Stanford game where they just, weren't mentally ready to really close a win out. That is obviously something that's going to have to change if we're going to seriously consider them for the Big 12 championship or even a bowl game. So with this year, that's something that we're going to look at very in detail of how the team not only plays but acts, limiting penalties, being mentally sound, not giving up the big play, and when things go wrong, just folding. And this isn't like the layup game, obviously. Anybody who knows college football knows the absolute monster that is North Dakota State. They lost in the semifinal against, I think, Montana last year. And they come in number 2 in FCS next to South Dakota State in the FCX top 25. They have 9 all-conference players returning. So it's a machine at North Dakota State. They just keep, coming in, they take their checks and beat your team. Actually, I believe it was last year or 2 years ago, they lost to Arizona and then actually snapped, I think it was a 5-6 game win streak against, D1 FBS teams. And the worst loss they've ever suffered from a D1 team was Iowa State. I think they lost like 34-17, and that was like 2008. They've always been close games. So this team is not a cakewalk for Colorado. This team is going to test them because, honestly, if you put North Dakota State in a group of 5, or I'll go even as far to say like the what's left of not Pac-12 anymore, Big 12, you put them there, they might have a shot. I'm very excited for this game just because it is – you got the, all the eyes and the publicity with Colorado versus this absolute D2 juggernaut against North Dakota State that cannot be slept on. And if Colorado is going to win this game, they have to look at that. This is not some layup game at the beginning of the season. This North Dakota State team has a reputation of, like I said, beating your team and taking that $1 million check on the way back.
Yeah, and I'm sure their athletic department has profited quite a bit over the last several years, taking on almost anybody. I mean, they've played a lot of teams over the last couple of years, and they've done quite well, like you said, with that 5-game win streak. So, yeah, I think, because I don't know a ton of North Dakota State, but I know you know more, and that's why I wanted you to go first, because I appreciated your insight there. I think my concern with this Colorado team is, okay, so a lot of it with this team is hype. Like I said when I introed it, they are a team that gets propped up largely to do with their head coach, Deion Sanders, who, obviously a Hall of Famer, one of the best all-time players in the NFL ever, probably the best corner ever. He's done quite well as a coach throughout the ranks, done well in high school, did quite well at Jackson State, moved on to Colorado. They were 1-11 before he took over, 4-8 last year. If this team is going to step up and do some things, the minimum they have to get to a bowl game this year. And I don't know if you looked at their schedule, Ian, but their schedule is not a cakewalk. That's for sure. There are a lot of tough teams in the Big 12. The Big 12 is a kind of one of those conferences where there's like 5 or 6 really good teams, and any one of them could win the conference. And Colorado is definitely not one of them. And so they're going to have to play a good portion of those teams. And I don't think they're going to do quite well against them. They may take a game or two, but I envision quite a few losses and probably very similar to last year, a 4-8, 5-7 team. And, you know, I've been seeing a lot of hype about Shedeur Sanders, and he did quite well last year. He put up pretty good numbers, but I just, you know, I can't take serious a Heisman candidate if he's going to be on a team that wins 5 to 4 games and loses 7 to 8 games. Like, but you know, they have a lot of transfers coming in. They had a lot of transfers going out. Is it going to pay off? I don't know. I really don't think so. I think this team is decent offensively. Defensively, they're putrid. They're one of the worst defenses in the country. They were unable to stop anybody last year. I mean, Stanford just clowned them, and Stanford was a terrible team. I don't see this team. I think they can win this game against North Dakota State, but this year is not going to be that great for them. But again, like what you were saying with North Dakota State, there's a chance that they could put a scare into them. And man, that would completely deflate the Colorado bubble instantly. These people that were like so on the Colorado train last year, there's going to be like none of that. It's basically what will happen. The same thing would happen what had happened with Florida State, where Florida State basically their like playoff hopes are almost like deteriorating.
They're on FSU's playoff hopes are on life support.
Yeah,
I saw somebody say that. I was like, that's a very good analogy.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It would be the same thing if they lost this game. It would be very similar trajectory about the momentum for their season. Okay, let's move on. It's not a great game, but this was just interesting to me because it's the first game for Oklahoma as an SEC member. So Temple going up against Oklahoma. Actually, we didn't even give who did you think was going to win North Dakota State?
I do think Colorado is going to win. They're going to just out-athlete North Dakota State, but man, I don't think it's going to be a comfy win. I'm going to go, let's say 28-21 on a final scoring drive.
Yeah, I'm going to say like 31 to like 22, and probably Colorado scores late to like put it that total. Okay, so Temple, Oklahoma. Temple is returning 5 on offense, 5 on defense. They were 3-9 last year and have only won 10 games in the last 4 years. So not a very good team, not trending in the right direction, especially if there's not a lot of returners. This could be a long day for Temple, which I think it will be. I think this will be the introduction of Oklahoma, their quarterback, Arnold, onto the stage. He was a highly recruited quarterback coming out of high school, and I think they're going to win probably like 49 to like, I'd say 14. What do you got, Ian?
I think, I think Oklahoma is just going to be too much for Temple. You mentioned they've really struggled. I think they had, 3 wins last year, and I think it was like Navy and Akron and a D2 school. But I expect Oklahoma to put on a show. Defensively is something I'm going to want to focus on Oklahoma, though, this year.
Yeah.
Because I think they were in like the bronze side of the 50s of rankings last year defensively.
Yeah.
So that is going to be something to look at potentially with this game if Temple can, get the jump on them. But I think Oklahoma will run away with it. I'll go 45-20 Sooners.
Yeah. Okay. Saturday starts off noon in Atlanta with a huge game. In years past, it's been one of the bigger games of the year. And this is still big because, obviously Georgia is a threat to always win it. But Clemson comes into this game against Georgia, returning 9 offensive starters, 5 on defense. Their defense isn't the problem. That wasn't the problem last year. Their offense couldn't score enough. They had the 50th best offense and only scored 44 touchdowns. Wait, no, that was, yeah. And their defense, though, was strong. That's why it's not that big of a deal if they lost some guys, because I still think because the coordinators are saying that they'll be fine there. Phil Maffa is back for them. He had 100 yards on the ground, or 100,000 yards, close to it on the ground. Cabe Klubnik is back. He threw 9 picks last year, though. That's not good. The defense was 8th nationally, which is huge. They only gave up 30 touchdowns. This Georgia team is returning 7 on offense, 7 on defense. Coming back is Carson Beck, potential Heisman candidate. 5th best offense, 69 TDs. 9th best defense, and they only gave up 26 touchdowns. But I feel like, okay, coming into this, I'm going to talk a little bit about Georgia and their trajectory. I feel like Georgia is more than likely going to lose a game or two this year, where it's like in years past, they've been blessed with, an East schedule that has been very easy, to say the least. Now they don't have that. They are not playing the Vanderbilts. They're not playing South Carolina. They're not playing some of these easy teams that they can just get a layup. And now it's like they have to play some of these West teams. They're playing Texas on the road, I believe. They're playing Ole Miss. I know they handled Ole Miss last year, but you know what? I still think it's a tough task this year because Ole Miss is one of the better teams in the country this year. Then you have just the fact that they got to play Clemson as well. And Georgia Tech just, proved itself to be a much better opponent than they have been the last 7-8 years. So Georgia's schedule that used to be a cakewalk with all those easy SEC East teams and a Georgia Tech team that was non-existent, now that doesn't happen anymore. Tech is actually a competitive team. Auburn is competitive as well. Tennessee is stronger. And so it's like, where they could have in years past just walked through their schedule, that's not going to happen. They're going to have to actually play these teams. Like I said, I think they're going to lose a game or two. And with that being said, I just don't have the biggest faith in Cade Klubnik. I think Maffa is a good running back. I think they're solid, as far as like running the ball. But Klubnik is just not, I don't know. There's just more. I just want more out of him, and I don't think he's able to deliver it. Their defense is going to keep them in this game. I think they can keep Georgia to like a 24 to 28 point total, which would be huge. That would give them a chance, but I do not envision Clemson scoring 31. I just don't. So I'm going to say Georgia wins like 28 to like 21. What do you got, Ian?
Yeah, I think this is going to be kind of a copy and paste of their last meeting where it was like 10-3 or whatever was the last game they played. I think it's going to be defensive snail race. Mostly because both, I think Clemson actually technically had a better defense. I think they were 6 and Georgia was 7, but who's counting? So defensively, they're pretty on par with each other, but offensively, I think just Georgia is more well-equipped to handle a tough defense compared to Clemson because they had the 50th best defense in the country, and now you got to go face that buzzsaw in Georgia. So yeah. I think it's going to be low scoring, but I think Georgia – overall, they're just the better team on paper. That's when it really comes down to it. So I'm going to go with the Bulldogs. I'll go with I'll give them they'll break 20, 21-13, Georgia.
Okay. Vatek, Vanderbilt. I only put this one on here because I'm intrigued about this Vatek team. They have a schedule that can propel them into bigger things. Vandy returns 7 of 8. Or not 7 of 8, 7 on offense, 8 on defense. coming off of a 2-10 season, though. Their quarterback is a new guy, so they'll have to replace that. Vatek returns 11 on offense and 10 on defense. That is one of the highest returning totals I think I've ever seen. So that's 21 of 22. That's quite impressive. And they were a 7-6 team last year, and they beat Tulane, who's a tough team in their bowl game. So I think a lot of people are a little hyped about Vatek. There seems to be an opening in the ACC with Florida State stumbling, and maybe Miami possibly might stumble as well. So that opening would give Vatek a chance to try to take advantage of with an easier schedule. We will see. I feel like Vatek's going to win this one pretty handedly. I'm going to say like 24 to like 7.
I'm going to be with you on that one. I think Vandy, looking at their schedule, they have a couple more easy games, so I do think the record will be better. And they may even sneak a win or two against an SEC team, because I do think they're better than they were last year. They had New Mexico State quarterback, his name escapes me. I think it's Pavia. I'm going to say Pavia. And he's the OC at Vanderbilt. He was the former OC at New Mexico State. So I think Vandy should be maybe to hang with them as they will maybe most games this year, maybe hang with teams a little later than we're used to. But I think just Vatek, the experience they have, they'll find a way to win this game. I think maybe close in the first half, but Vatek runs away with it. I'll go 28-10 Hokies.
Nice. Okay. This game is a scary kind of big game that like is maybe not getting as much national pub as like Clemson, Georgia, Florida, Miami, or Notre Dame, Texas A&M. But Penn State, West Virginia on Saturday could be a really like interesting game because I really like West Virginia here. And Penn State is on the doorstep of finally getting into the playoff because, 4 teams, they were never going to make it because they were never better than Michigan and Ohio State. And lo and behold, look what happens. They expand the playoff, and now it's 12 spots. So they'll clearly make it if they just continue to do what they've done the last like 6-7 years and win like 8, 9, 10 games, which I believe they will do again. But this game is a huge impediment to that because they do have tougher games the rest of the year. So let's look at it. So Penn State returns 6 on offense, 7 on defense. Their quarterback, Drew Allar, is back. He only had 2 picks all year, which I didn't realize till I looked it up, and I was like, that's pretty good. But he definitely pooped the bed a bunch. Every big game, he was very underwhelming, low completion percentage in those games, and struggled mightily. This is a statement game for them. If they want to get off to a good start to the season, they have to win this game. It sets the stage for their potential first season making it to the CFP, like I said. They had the second best defense in all of the country, only allowed 20 TDs the whole year. But offensively, they were 53rd with 56 touchdowns, which is 56 is pretty good for the 53rd best offense. So they brought in the OC from Kansas, where Kansas had the 21st best offense with Jalen Daniels. So things are changing there. Hopefully, Allar can take advantage of that and have a better season this year because of it, and the offense will be better. We'll see. What is it? Yeah, like I said, I feel like if they lose this, there's a chance that they may be already out of contention because I feel like they'll lose another game or two in their Big Ten schedule. But West Virginia has 8 offensive starters coming back, 5 on defense, 66 best defense, and gave up 41 touchdowns. The 27th ranked offense with 50 TDs scored. 9-4 last year, returning Garrett Green, who's a stud, nearly 30 touchdowns last year. could be a dark horse to get to the CFP. And Green, I've been seeing some articles about him potentially being a dark horse Heisman candidate. I could see them easily going 10-2 with their schedule. This is a huge game for them. They could be an outsider looking in, but if they win this game, that changes everything. I'm going to go West Virginia. I feel like it's in where is West Virginia's campus?
Morgantown.
What is it?
Morgantown.
God, because USF doesn't play them anymore, so I forgot the name of their city. But so Morgantown is going to be hyped for this. One of the bigger games in a long while for them, and they are a great fan base. I will say, like, they're a very underappreciated fan base that has kind of gone dormant for a long while. But yeah, this is a huge game for them. Shout out to my friend Sam Thompson. Oh no, yeah, is that Sam's last name? Yeah, Sam Thompson, who's a huge West Virginia fan. Yeah, I think they could win this game, and I think they will. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be like a 31-28 game, and like West Virginia scores late, and then they get a stop on Penn State, and then they win it, and that will be huge for them. What do you got, Ian?
Yeah, I read my mind. I think this was my upset pick. I think Penn State going into Morgantown in a very hostile environment. Not that Penn State, I think, is going to be as rattled, but I think with West Virginia, they have a really good offensive line, and I think as long as they defend the passing game of Penn State, they can really neutralize Penn State's attack. Because now with the receivers that Penn State has and the arm strength of LR, they should be able to take more shots. If West Virginia can limit the 10-plus, 15-plus yard pass plays, I think West Virginia is going to stay in this game, and they're going to find a way to win. Getting through that defense, which was number 2 in the country last year, is going to be paramount. But I feel like this team had a great season last year. I feel like they can, start off good this year. I think with it in Morgantown, that helps. I'm going to go West Virginia in a close one. I'll go 27-24.
All right. And moving into teams that we cover, at least one of them so far.
Mm-hmm.
Florida Gators coming up against the Miami Hurricanes in Gainesville, Saturday at 3:30 Eastern on ESPN. Huge game. The hype all off season has been Miami is a potential playoff team and that they have a lot of returning, which they do. They're returning 10 on offense, and that their defense is strong, and that they'll be able to, pretty much take advantage of all the matchups that present themselves with Florida. I'm going to let you give your opinion first, and then I'll go, but I want to hear what your thoughts are, Ian.
Yeah, this game. First of all, I'm so glad we're playing Miami again, because I feel like this should be a team we play every year, going back to when we couldn't schedule them anymore in the 80s. After the 80s, I was like, can we play? It's good to have rivalries, especially with in-state teams. So please, for the love of God, do this more often.
I agree.
With that being said, man, the storyline going into this one is both coaches need this win bad. Mario Cristobal, last year, he finally got them to a bowl game, but they lost to Rutgers. I think that was a Pinstripe Bowl. Yeah. And they got their 6 wins. They beat Clemson. They beat A&M was dead in the water at that point, but they beat A&M, and they hung in there with North Carolina, Florida State, and Louisville. Then you have games like Georgia Tech, and you can kind of see the theme I'm getting here, where it's like I'm seeing what's going on with Florida. You get your good wins, and then you find a beyond stupid way to lose a game. So really, these teams are made for each other. I think with this one, it's really going to come down to how well the Florida defense can contain Ward. If they can find a way, if this defense can make that jump, and they're going to have to do it quick, because there is no time to learn on the fly now. they're going to have to find a way to contain Ward. You got to find a way to put in a spy at linebacker. You got to find a way to limit his running options. If you make him one-dimensional and limit Miami to maybe 20 points, which is asking a lot with this defense, Florida's got a shot. I think, with that being said, I think the offense is going to be okay, but I know Montrell Johnson is going to be questionable. Hopefully he can play, but I think the running game with the system Florida plays is going to be good. Mertz, really calm, cool, and collected in the pocket. Worst comes to worst, just throw DJ Lagway in there. You might as well throw him in the fire. Eugene Wilson will be the primary guy. He can catch almost anything. He's got the speed to burn him out. The O-line is going to have to step up. But when it comes down to it, if I just had to look at it straight up, I just don't, again, nothing about this Florida team under Napier's tenure has told me I can look at a game like this and be like, I have complete confidence they will win this game. Because it's either a play call, a penalty, or just not playing up, or it's some brutal mistake that buries them. And that is what might happen again. If they're going to be successful this season, they're going to have to limit it. But with Miami, I don't know. I think Cam Ward is just such a difference maker. And with the other transfers they have in, I think Miami sneaks a win out. I think it'll be close, but I just don't think Florida knows how to win a game like this and contain a player like Cam Ward. So I'm going to go with the Hurricanes in this one. I'll go, let's go 27-23. Please, for the love of God, prove me wrong. I've been saying that for 3 years now.
So I will counter that they have had two big games against pretty big opponents that they've won. Utah being the first game of Billy's Florida career, and then the Tennessee game last year. So in these big matchups, he has been able to win some of these games. Again, he also lost to Kentucky and Arkansas at home, so kind of negates that. But I will say this is the third year. There is momentum in recruiting. I know it wasn't like the third best recruiting class, but they got a ton of players and they were able to get other guys that they have been targeting the last couple of years in Pup Howard, and who I'll talk about in a second as well. Pup Howard, Grimsley, the cornerback from Alabama, and a couple other like offensive linemen. So they have been able to get these guys that they didn't get right away in recruiting, but they ended up getting as transfers. So the recruiting totality is quite well. And you add in some other guys like Asa Turner, safety, Joey Slackman on the defensive line. I honestly think, okay, you talked about it. Linebacking play might be an issue. Pup Howard is going to be a huge difference maker because not only do you already have Shamar James, but now you have Pup Howard, who's an experienced SEC linebacker who knows how to play the position. And then you add on in the depth, you add Childs and Miles Graham, who are freaks. They're studs, and they're going to be huge for them going forward. So right there, linebacking play is night and day difference from what it has been for probably since Jared Davis and Alex Anzalone. So that's been like close to 10 years that we have not seen the level of play. We've had a guy or maybe one, done quite well, Ventrell Miller and what's the guy, David Reese. But like we haven't had like a couple of guys. Now we have like four guys that actually can play the position. Then you have the D line, which seems to be better. It's not as good as Miami's. I'll grant that because Bain is a stud, but the D line is way better. I like the secondary a lot. Jason Marshall, Castell, like I said, Turner, Sharif Denson at the nickelback position. Just a lot of players on defense. I think, especially with Ron Roberts coming in as co-defensive coordinator so that both him and Armstrong can work in concert to get this defense better. And Will Harris. Like that alone, like the fact that they used to – oh, no. I got my camera's dead.
Oh.
Well, let me try something. I don't know why I did that. You were hearing me though, right?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Okay, that was weird. Okay. All right, so Ron Roberts coming in, and then also with Will Harris. He's a stud coach in the secondary. He should get the most out of those players. And I feel like because the secondary has been so lacking last couple of years, I don't know if you remember that Kentucky game where
I do.
Kimber, Jalen Kimber was on contain on a couple of those plays and just gives like the worst effort possible. And Ray Davis runs for like 80 yards. And it's like, if he makes two of those plays, he doesn't have those two runs. And then like his run total for the day is like 120 yards. And that game's probably completely different. And I know it's obviously like, they still would have gotten plays anyways because they were gashing the defense. But it's just remarkable how bad the secondary tackling was last year. And it really was atrocious. And I think this team should take another step into that. And I'm not worried about the offense. The offense should be able to score in this game. I feel like they can score plenty of points. The running back room is probably the deepest we've ever seen for Florida. I mean, from starter to, fifth spot, like everyone is a stud. Billy is phenomenal with evals for running back. So I have full faith in anyone that comes in, even if Montreal doesn't start. Counter that with Miami. Miami is a very good team, very good offensively. They have a lot of returning starters. Their defense is strong. I think they can score a lot of points. Cam Ward is a very agile, mobile, athletic quarterback who can put up a lot of yards. He did so at Washington State, but he has also put up a ton of turnovers. He has 76 in his career, which is an absurd amount of turnovers. He fumbles the ball a lot, which is, good for Florida because they only forced 7 turnovers last year, which I didn't even believe it when I saw it. I was like, 7? That is like,
yeah, I know.
It's insanity. Like, oh God, it just makes me sick even thinking about it because the fact that that few of short fields that you would give the offense is a huge difference in these games. And that's why Florida was only able to score 41 touchdowns last year, even though they had the 46th best offense. Defensively, they were 69th best defense, Florida, and they allowed 39 touchdowns. So again, I feel like this game is going to be close. I think Miami probably is a better team in a neutral site or maybe on in Miami, but this game is in Gainesville, and I know Miami fans don't want to hear that, but it is a huge difference maker when large in big games like this. Utah, Tennessee, Billy has come up huge with big home games. This year, I don't see any difference. I feel like he's going to bring the juice, bring the energy, amp up the team, and they'll get the win. I think Florida wins probably in a close one, maybe last score, last whoever has the ball last type game. And I think that's going to be Florida. I think they're going to be able to move the ball effectively. I think they're going to be able to, position themselves to score last, which I think it's going to be like a 28-24 game, similar to your score, but I think Florida comes out on top. Okay, so let's move on to another team we cover, USF, Bethune-Cookman USF. This will be real quick. Yep. I'm expecting a blowout. USF's returning 10 starters on offense, 8 on defense, with quarterback Byron Brown, huge stud, obviously, if people aren't aware. He was 8th in the nation in total yards. This team is going to score a lot of points. They were the 17th best offense, scored 50 touchdowns last year. I expect a lot of the same. The Sean Atkins returns. The offense should put up at least 45. I'm going to say 51, and then Bethune-Cookman may score 17. What do you got, Ian?
Yeah, I'm going to be going to this one, so I'll see it firsthand.
Nice.
The amazing thing I didn't realize until yesterday is that this is the first time USF has ever played Bethune-Cookman. I could have sworn in the days when they were having the GOAT logo, I swore I saw them on the schedule once, but I guess they haven't. But yeah, I'm with you. I think USF, they're experienced. They've been in these games before. They know how to do it. I hope, compared to last year with Florida A&M, they kind of left the foot off the gas towards the end, and A&M made it a bit closer than what was comfortable. But I don't think that's going to happen again. Bethune-Cookman, I don't think is going to be, any slouch. I know they got 12 FBS transfers, and 6 of them are from Power 5 teams. But USF, I think they're going to run away with this one. The offense is too good not to put up a bunch of points. I do want to see how the running game is going to work with Naquan Wright. I want to see how the read options attack will be, because this is a good kind of feeler for how the season is going to go. I'm not too worried about, how much else is going to be. Defensively, I want to see big stops when they're needed to, especially getting off the field on third down. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this game and seeing what they can do. But I'm going to go USF running away with it. I'll go 41-13.
Yeah, defense needs to step up for sure, especially if they're going to take the next step, like we talked about in the season preview, where we think they potentially could get to 10-2 and maybe even 11-1 and have a shot at the playoff. So, okay, moving on to Notre Dame, Texas A&M. Huge game because Notre Dame is vying for a playoff spot because they've been right there on the door. Now they can kick through with a win here. They returned 6 on offense, 9 on defense. They were the 29th best offense, 59 total touchdowns on offense, which they had a great quarterback, Sam Hartman. He's gone now, but now comes in Riley Leonard from Duke, who, look at on the other sideline, Elko, who comes in after Jimbo is fired for A&M. So opposing teams, but the quarterback coach combination last year, which is very rare to see that, but it's the new day and age of college football. So Here we go. So they were 10-3 last year, Notre Dame. As far as A&M, they were the 48th best offense. They were 19th best defense. They're returning 9 on both sides of the ball, 7-6, and that's why Jimbo got fired. I will say Notre Dame's defense was the 5th best in the country because Marcus Freeman comes from the defensive side, where he was a defensive coordinator before. So I feel like Notre Dame should probably win this game because it is Elko's first game, but Elko is a very good coach. It turned off again. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it might be overheating. Sorry, folks. All right, there we are. Okay. But Elko is a very good coach, and I expect him to have this team ready to play. And I feel like A&M can win this game, but I feel like Notre Dame is going to win because they have a lot riding on this game. It's the first game of the year, sets a tone for the rest of the year. Riley Leonard is a very good quarterback when healthy, and I feel like they should win this game. And I'm going to go with like 24-20. What do you got, Ian?
Yeah, I think this one will be pretty close because both of them are defensively strong. I'm going to say with Notre Dame, they're offensively, they're going to be a lot better. They got Riley Leonard transferring in, and the A&M secondary has a lot to show up for this year. They weren't too good last year, and the Irish actually have a pretty good wide receiving core. With that being said, on the other side, the O-line from Notre Dame is they have lost a lot of guys to draft, and one of their best O-line guys just got injured, and A&M blitzes like crazy. So that is going to be, I think that's going to be the telling point of the game is how well the Notre Dame line does against the A&M blitz, because they are going to blitz. And we know Elko has a thing for putting the upset early in the season. So with that being said, I think Notre Dame survives a very close game. I'll go with a 20-16 score, but I would not be surprised if that was flipped and A&M pulls off the upset.
Okay, next one I got Fresno State, Michigan. I'm curious to this game because Michigan has 7 returning starters, as in the entire team, 2 on offense, 5 on defense. So they lost a ton of production on both sides of the ball. They had the best defense in the country, 67th best offense. I will say they had a 19-plus turnover margin, which was huge for them to put them in short fields. And why, even though they had the 67th best offense, they scored 64 offensive touchdowns, which is huge difference than some of the other similarly ranked teams. This Fresno State team is no joke, though, because they returned 8 offensive starters. They were 9-4 last year. They had the 67th best offense. This team can get to them. I don't think they will, but it'll be closer than I think a lot of people realize. I'm going to say Michigan wins like probably 31-22. What do you got?
Yeah, I think Michigan defensively they're going to be okay. They've always been strong defensively, and I think that is more of a system thing than anything when you get guys in. And Michigan did a very good job last year rotating guys so they have experience. Offensively is going to be the question mark. It's all going to hinge on, how well Donovan Edwards can be in the backfield. Because as we knew last year, that running game was the engine to that offense. When McCarthy would hand it off to Corum or Edwards, and they would get at least 5-6 yards a game, that sets up the play action. We saw that. They killed teams like that. They killed Bama with that attack. So the thing will be to do that more. With that, Alex Orji, the new quarterback, he is more mobile, obviously, than McCarthy. So now you can maybe rely on more options, more, boot plays to run and get the first. I think the running game is going to be very crucial this year. I think defensively, Michigan's going to be okay. I think they will hold Fresno State here. I will go with a 34-14 win for the Wolverines.
Okay, moving on to UCLA, Hawaii. Hawaii returns 8 on offense, 7 on defense, but they were 5-8 last year. They're more of a pass first offense. The run game is basically non-existent. UCLA returns 7 on offense, 5 on defense, and they were 8-5 last year, and they had the 10th best defense. I feel like UCLA can hold them in check defensively. So, Hawaii's not going to be able to throw the ball all over the place. And UCLA, I think their offense is probably better than people realize. I think they're going to score some. I like Garbers in here to have a pretty good game because Hawaii's defense is not very good. I'm going to say UCLA wins like probably 34 to like 14. What do you got, Ian?
Yeah, I watching the Hawaii game last week wasn't the most, that one against Delaware State didn't really tell me anything why I shouldn't think UCLA will beat them. I think Hawaii would be good, but I don't think good enough to beat UCLA. UCLA is just too good, and I think defensively they should be able to stuff Hawaii. So I'm going to go Hawaii winning or UCLA winning. I'll go 38 to I'll keep it with 14.
Nice. Okay. Going across town to USC. USC and LSU in Las Vegas. I originally was going to go to this game, but, it just didn't work out. We're actually going to Disneyland instead. So can't go to Vegas. Might as well go to another place similar to it and spend a lot of money. But so LSU, first offense in the nation last year. Jaden Daniels was the Heisman winner. Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas were first-round picks as well, just like Daniels in the NFL draft. They're no longer there. Not only that, their OC is gone. The OC coming in is their quarterback coach, Sloan. So maybe he has something for them. We'll see. Nussmeier is the quarterback again for them. He's been pretty good in the games that he's played. SEC championship game 2 years ago, he was effective, and he won the game against Wisconsin in their bowl game last year. The thing that was their weakness has been their defense the last several years, which was the 105th worst defense in the country. That is terrible. So they brought in the DC from Missouri, who was the 33rd best defense. And, maybe they'll be able to make a difference right away. I don't think so. I think in this game, USC is going to get whatever they want points-wise. I think they're going to make a huge difference in the game here. I think that'll probably be the difference in the game because I feel like LSU might be able to get some points, but on the flip side, USC bringing in Danson Lynn, who has already shown to turn over teams, taking UCLA from a 90th ranked to a 10th ranked defense. I feel like he can do the same for USC, especially with way more talent. And I know you would probably say, why not? Do you feel the same about Missouri? Well, Missouri, about the LSU DC, I don't know. I mean, I feel like Danson Lynn already has a track record of doing something relatively quickly. I don't know if this Mizzou guy can jump in and it's going to be right away, especially first game of the year. Maybe they'll eventually get there, which I think is definitely possible. But as of right now, I feel like USC has a better chance of having a better defense right away with the new hires of their defensive coordinator. So with that being said, I feel like USC with Moss being the quarterback who threw 6 TDs in the Holiday Bowl is going to continue his trend. They have a great offense. Lincoln Riley is one of the best offensive minds in the country. I feel like they're going to score 42 on LSU, and I feel like LSU is probably going to score 27. So 42-27, that's what I got. What do you got, Ian?
Yeah, I think this one it's going to be it might come down to who can score last because both teams defensively have lots of proof, especially USC, of how bad they were last year. Both teams, I mean, there's a lot of similarities between them going into it. For USC, Heisman Trophy winner Caleb Williams is gone. LSU, Heisman Trophy winner Jaden Daniels is gone. Both have playmakers on both sides and both have quarterbacks that have shown they can really break out in the past. I think in this one, though, I agree. I think SC, they have more playmakers on the receiving end to help Miller Moss, and Miller Moss definitely didn't play a lot, but he definitely looked very good when he did. And USC's offensive line, very, very good. I think they'll be able to hold LSU's defense, and they might be able to carve them up. SC, they're going to have to do the best they can to limit LSU. I think LSU will score, but I think they'll be able to get enough stops, and USC will be able to score enough to put enough distance between them and the Tigers. So I'm going to go Trojans winning. I'll go with a shootout. I'll go 42-30 USC.
Nice. Okay, last game, Monday night, Boston College, FSU. Boston College returns 9 offensive starters, 8 on defense, including quarterback Thomas Castellanos, who is a wizard on the ground. He's kind of small, but he's super athletic and just super gifted as far as being able to make plays. Bill O'Brien comes in as the new head coach. He's an offensive mind, so maybe you can get the most out of him as well. You know, FSU was gashed last year by Castellanos, and it was a close game. It was like a 31-29 game where FSU was on the verge of giving the ball back to BC before they got a favorable penalty that gave them a first down. It was a penalty, but it just was just by chance they got that because they were on the verge of kicking back to BC, which BC probably would have scored and would have won the game. I think it was just a field goal needed to win it. FSU is coming off that loss to Georgia Tech and a trip to Ireland, which, you know, they looked lethargic. They looked soft. They were pushed around by Georgia Tech's O-line. I feel like that could be more of the same here. I don't like this Florida State defense. I didn't like it coming into the year. I felt like they were saying, you know, the other media members were saying that Florida State had the best D-line in the country, and they might be good against the pass, which they could end up being, but they're not good against the run. And their linebacking play was terrible, largely to do with Randy Shannon being a very bad linebacking coach. But, you know, I don't expect Florida State to win this game, but they probably should because they have more talent. You know, there's a lot in the favor of BC here. I think if Florida State loses this game, the wheels might come off rather quickly on the season. And I think they need this game more than BC does. Like, BC could lose this game and still have a good year. I think Florida State needs this game more. The game's at home. It's the home opener. I feel like Florida State's going to win this one. I'm going to say Florida State wins probably like 28 to like 25, but it's going to be really, really close. And BC may have the ball last, and Florida State's going to have to get a last-second stop. And I think I even said that last week with the Georgia Tech game, but I'm going to say it again because I think this Florida State team is weak. But go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, I think this one, you're right. Florida State is in must-win mode throughout the season because, like I said, their playoff chances are on life support right now. They straight up went into Ireland thinking Georgia Tech was going to lay down for them, and that did not happen. And they got bit in the butt pretty bad. They cannot, for the rest of the year, go into games like they did. I think, honestly, now that you mentioned it, the similarities between the Georgia Tech game and the BC game last year are actually pretty striking. It's just Florida State was able to kind of win out on that one, and they couldn't do it against Georgia Tech last week. I think, though, you're right. Florida State, I think they learned their lesson. I am almost positive, you know, they're going to be much more focused as a team. It's in Tallahassee for the home opener. I think Florida State will win this one. I mean, I don't think – yeah, Boston College has not won in Tallahassee since 2008. Was that when – no, that was after Matt Ryan. So there's a lot for Florida State to do. This is you cannot lose this game. I don't think they will, but I don't think it's going to be pretty. This team has a lot of, loose screws to fix throughout the year. So I'm going to go Seminoles winning 27-14.
Okay. That is the show, everyone. I'm going to make an editor-in-chief move here and say we're not going to do a show on Sunday because Sunday there's the USC game, and then Monday will still be the Florida State game. So I'm just going to go ahead because I think going forward it's because that weekend, that first official weekend of the season, is always the Labor Day weekend. I'm just going to always not have a show on that weekend because it's easier just to do the Wednesday show and just make it a larger show than normal. And so we'll do the recap and the preview at the same time. So there'll be no show on Sunday, but look forward to us on Wednesday. Like I said, follow us at haterradio.com. All the socials, hater_radio for Twitter, X, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. Hater Radio CFB for Facebook, and at Hater Radio for YouTube. My name is Chris McLean again. Ian, what are your socials?
Yeah, my Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter are at GGatorG. G_Gator_G.
Okay, that's where you can reach us. Like, subscribe, comment, follow, do all the things so you can help us out, get into the algorithm, help us permeate as much as we can. That is the show. You guys have a good one. I'm excited for these games. And go Gators. All right, take care, y'all.
Go Bulls and Gators.